So this next set of exercises, I'm going to give a few different variations and postures and positions, but it's your T, Ys, and Is. So T, Y, I, or A, I or A. When we do these different positions, we work a lot of the different muscles in the back of the shoulder blade. So in your Y position, so long as your blade is not up in your ears, right, you're working on your low trap. So as you come into the Y position, blade comes down the back towards the low middle. Blade goes up and away. Blade comes down and back. Doing your T, Ys, and Is with some band or tubing, you want to pick a relatively light band. It's a long lever and not major muscle group. And you want to anchor it somewhere between waist and chest height. For the I, you can do a thicker resistance band if you have it. If you feel like you cannot do this without either your back hurting or a noticeable lean backwards, you can go in an offset stride of 1 foot forward, which will help you put your hips in a more posterior pelvic tilt and a more neutral back position therein. Modification of this, if you are particularly weaker on one side and also want to make this more of a 2-for-1 exercise, more whole body, even more core integration, you can bring it into a half kneeling position and going into a lunge and up. Holding this pose, the band will make you want to rotate a little bit. It is your job to not do that. So this will get a opposite sided left hip stance exercise as well. If doing the modification for the T, you might be good enough in the core to do that. You may have to pull it back into a row so that you're still working the mid-trap rhomboid, but it's not as much of a torsion to withstand. If you're more in the beginner zone, you do not have to take it into a full lunge. If you're doing your eyes now, you can start with band in left hand. You're going to balance on your opposite foot. And it's more of just a weight shift. Even as you're doing this, you are pulling your blade back. You can stand on a Bosu or other sort of wobble disc, which I'll be using. We call it the matrix because there's 6 sets, 6 reps, 6 exercises done at 3% of your ideal body weight. Ideally, if you need to start with 1 or 2 pounds initially, that's fine too. So exercise 1, forward raises. Side raises. Overhead press. This next one you have to be a little bit bent forward for to get against gravity. Elbows pinned at your side, and it's just a tricep extension. Flies. And bicep curls. So the point of standing on something unsteady, if you haven't figured it out yet, is it just helps engage the core. It prevents substitutions. If I was standing on the flat floor, if I have my core nice and engaged, I'm doing my front raises. If I'm not and I'm getting sloppy, I could do this. If I do that on my balance disc, my toes are going to tip down in front. It's going to tell on me. All right, so we've done 1 set so far. We've got 5 more to go. Front raises. Side raises. Overhead press. Tricep press. Flies. Bicep curl. All right, you can vary this up by doing alternating, then go That's your shoulder matrix. Another way to do the TYs and Is is over a yoga ball. Nice neutral neck. Don't look forward. Don't let it drop down. So you're working on that muscular endurance of just holding your head up at the same time. And if you got more of a core stability, feet can go closer or cross on top. As you lift, try not to extend your thoracic spine. We are just trying to move blades and shoulders. Same thing can also be done over a foam roll. Another exercise I really like for the posterior shoulder girdle is just called swimmers. So we're just trying to keep forearms parallel to the ground, and you're going to be getting the T, the Y, and the I as you move through the motion. You can do this over the ball as well, and this is done for endurance. This is a super important and often neglected shoulder blade stabilizer muscle. It's called your serratus anterior, so it goes from the side ribs to your blade. And what it does is prevent this winging, which is when my rib cage kind of drops and my shoulder blades point upward. So to get out of winging, you should not try to just arch the back. You want to keep the spine nice and neutral and press through the hands like it's more about the blades coming towards your hands or towards the floor. Blades are coming together. Blades are coming apart. Blades together. Blades apart. This is usually a good starting off position. I'll show you the version against the wall if it's really that weak from a strength perspective. Once you have the motion down, you can start loading up more weight. So going into from an all fours position to a knee plank position. So not like a traditional push-up because we're not bending our elbows. And if you do this with a full push-up, this would be called a push-up plus. So you go down, up, extra up. All right. Of course, the progression from there would just be into a full push-up. From there, if you take it back down to your knees and go to single arm, you want to be able to bear all of the weight on this one arm without sinking into that blade winging position. pressing up. You can reach, tap across your opposite shoulder. You should feel a lot of abs on, also stabilizing you here. Shifting weight to the other arm, make sure you can do both. Again, not letting it wing. Up here. Tapping your opposite shoulder, reaching. All of that is just to challenge a single arm hold. So even if you're just doing a plank, keep this in mind and don't let your shoulders sag. All right, so for that serratus press, you're having a hard time doing it in 4-point kneeling. You can lean into the wall. Chest goes into the wall. Blades push away. Into the wall. Away. So again, this is not spinal motion. This is not a cat-cow. It's just blades. This is one of my favorite exercise sets for general shoulder stability and endurance. A big part of this is that we're going to try to stand on something unlevel. So you can stand on a half foam roll, flat side up or curvy side up.